And welcome back to Front Row Tampa Bay. At 5,000 acres, Tampa's port covers more ground than any other seaport in Florida. It also handles more cargo and has an $8 billion impact on the Tampa Bay economy. Joining me now, the port's director and CEO, Richard Wainio. Bob Amalie, across from me, Vice President of State Government and Community Affairs for CSX Transportation, and Dennis Madden, Senior Vice President for Global Sales and Marketing, Amalie Oil Company. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
The impact of this port is huge. Most people wouldn't realize that. And we're talking about primarily cargo and freight. The cruise industry is there, but it's a small component of it.
Well, actually, the cruise industry is very large and very important to us. This year, we expect to hit almost 1 million passengers on and off cruise ships at the port, and it accounts for a good share of our revenue, which we plow back into the port to build all that important infrastructure used to move cargo. But you're absolutely right. The port's huge. The diversity is as diverse as any port in the country, and in terms of its physical size, it's as large as just about any port in the country.
You came here 7 years ago.
7.5 years ago.
How much growth has there been?
Well, growth during a recession. What I'd like to look at is we've really performed well during a time when the economy of the United States and of course our region and our state has suffered immensely. Even during these very difficult times, the port has invested tens of millions of dollars into infrastructure, creating thousands and thousands of jobs. We've continued to move millions of tons of cargo, continued to hold our position as the largest port in the state of Florida in terms of tonnage. We've grown the cruise business, certain segments of our business. We have one of our primary customers sitting next to me. They're doing well now. And there are companies, new companies coming in. We've brought in a lot of new companies in recent years. And again, the key is that all of this generates huge amounts of economic value and jobs for our region.
Dennis, your company is an oil company,
yes,
petroleum products,
right?
And
lubricants.
Lubricants, and it's grown enormously since you first joined it. And I was going to say that I wanted to praise you for your alma mater, which is Ohio University, Athens.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I had to get that in. Yeah, okay. I had to get that in.
I didn't know that.
Now you do.
Yeah. The first kicker for the Bucks was too.
Dave Green. Yes, you're right. Absolutely right. So your company is based in the Tampa Bay area.
We are based in the Port of Tampa.
And why?
Well, there's a couple of reasons, and I got two reasons on both sides of me here. Within the port, we have ready access to water for incoming and outgoing. Our raw materials come in and we ship products out by ships and to all parts of the world. We also heavily use rail, and rail in the Port of Tampa is very, very big and very accessible. We have jumbo rail cars, and we're able to bring raw materials in that we can't bring in by water. We bring additives and things like that on jumbo rail cars. We also ship products out in jumbo rail cars. The port's been very part of our growth. I mean, in the very beginning, we had one of the very first the tax assistant loans that industrial revenue bonds that help us to enlarge our plant, our physical plant. Then later we had the cause to enlarge again, and we were invested with industrial revenue bonds. And so the port, and those types of things, but it's the fact, the easy access to rail and the easy access to water. The water for coming in, the water for going out, the rail for coming in and for going out.
So Bob, let's talk about CSX Railroad. For anyone who thinks rail is an outmoded form of transportation, especially when it comes to moving goods, it's not at all. In fact, it's a very cost-efficient way of moving goods, yes?
Absolutely, and freight rail transportation is going to continue to grow and continue to gain market share as we see traffic congestion increase and other factors that make long-haul trucking make less economical sense. Rail is going to continue to grow. We can move the equivalent of 280 trucks, and it's a very efficient way of moving landside freight. And as Dennis mentioned, what's important though is how we connect to other modes of transport, especially shipping. And with the Port of Tampa, we're very proud of a project that we're working on right now called the Tampa Gateway Project, where we will have an on-dock rail facility that will allow for ethanol business. It will be a rail-to-pipeline business. And not just ethanol, but then that same rail infrastructure will allow the port to use that in rail connectivity for intermodal and other lines of business. And it's those connections that make for efficient movement of freight. So going from ship directly onto a rail to a market anywhere in the United States for customers like Amalie Oil, that's a benefit.
I was going to ask you that. From how far away do trains come to the Port of Tampa?
We get trains from Canada and from all over the United States.
They come from all over, and in fact, this gateway rail system that's being built, if I could add to what was just said by Bob, it is going to be the only on-dock unit train rail system in the state of Florida, meaning you can bring in 60, 80, up to 100 cars into the port, right adjacent to our facilities. Moving in, the ethanol will come all the way from the Midwest, unit trains coming down from Iowa, Illinois, that area, and then once we get the intermodal component really moving, we can then bring containers back and forth from all over the eastern region as well. I mean, the CSX system reaches out all over the east coast and out to the Mississippi and Midwest.
Our rail network is 21,000 miles in 23 states, and then we also connect with the Western Railroad. So the Port of Tampa connects Florida to the rest of the world, and we connect the Port of Tampa to the entire United States. And it's that linkage together that makes for a very efficient movement of freight.
Yeah.
We also, I'm sorry.
Sorry, Danny. I was just going to comment on that. The logistics side of it is that a port is one link in a transportation chain. And just as Bob said, you can invest all the money you want in a port. You can have the best and most modern port facility in the world. And if you don't have those hinterland rail connections and good highway connections like the I-4 crosstown that's being built, you're not going to succeed.
Right. Dennis, you were going to say.
I was going to say there's two things. First, with the railroad, not only do we put things into what you might want to call a truck van, but those sometimes if we're shipping to the California or the Northwest, they go onto the railroad, and that's the most efficient way for us to use that. The other thing, and some of the investment that Richard has talked about, is the ability in Tampa to load container ships. I mean, in the last 7 years has grown enormously. So the infrastructure that is very expensive to be able to load containers, put them on ships and ship them throughout the world. And we're in almost 100 countries now, and we're able to load a good bit of them here in Tampa onto ships, and they go throughout the world.
I was going to ask you about the growth of your company. You first joined Amalie it wasn't called that then.
No, it was called Petroleum Packers,
right.
And then in 1998 we bought the Amalie Oil Company, and in 99 we changed our name.
But you started with the company in the late 1970s?
I started with the company, I'm in my 42nd year with the people, so it's been a long time. Watch my children grow up here and everything. But the growth of our company, I mean, has been, the port has helped us, the railroad has helped us, the fact that we're way the hell away from the rest of the United States, but by bringing stuff in by water and by rail, we're able to efficiently put products together here. We blow mold our own bottles, so every week we get hit with 200,000 pounds of raw plastic so we can make bottles cheaply on site, and we're able to ship anywhere in the United States as cheaply and as competitively as any of our competitors. And we have, we've done nothing but grow, and we grow because we have good people, we think we have good products, and we test and we make sure our products are going out the door as good as they can be.
Mr. Wainio, then, we are really an international port. Sport and port.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's like a sport.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are serving the world from here, correct?
Absolutely, the entire world. Mosaic fertilizer goes to India. I mean, we get products in from all over Latin America. As Denny was saying, I mean, I was telling him earlier, recently I was in a remote jungle area of Latin America, and as I got out of my car and looked around and looking for a place to get a little bit of gas on a dirt road, there were all these guys dressed up in jumpsuits with Amalie Oil on the back of their jumpsuits. So we reach out to the entire world. There's no doubt about it. 35 to 40 million tons of cargo in and out of this port, and we're growing the container business. And the port has nothing but good things in the future for it.
And you grew up in the Panama Canal zone, yes?
In Panama,
In Panama.
and in the canal area as well. My grandfather went there about 100 years ago, so I spent most of my career in Panama, yes.
And so, obviously, there's a relationship between here and the Panama Canal.
There's a huge relationship, and then as everybody knows, they're adding a third lane of locks right now that will add these very large locks so that they can bring container ships through Panama that are up to 3 times the size of the present container ships. That's going to change transportation patterns. It's going to change the size of the market that we can go after. It's going to bring lots of benefits, not just for Tampa, but for the entire state of Florida.
Well, gentlemen, I thank you all for joining us here. It's good to know we have a healthy port, and the biggest one in Florida, for that matter.
Thank
Good.
you.
Thank
very
you.
much. Thank you.
When we come back, Kathy's going to tell us about an energy source that is abundant and growing in use.
That's it.